Yo, 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 hello. Welcome to the show. Show being me driving along, talking to myself with my phone recording it, basically. But hey, hopefully somebody's listening. What I want to talk about today was my concerns for just the state of affairs right now in the world and things going on that maybe, I don't know if they even seem disconnected. I think a lot of people will disconnect them, but to me they all seem to be connected one way or the other. So what am I talking about? So what was the other day? Well, I know the exact day actually, because this is what sort of stands out to me. So there was an assassination, I think they called it, of the guy Charlie Kirk, which took place on, I think it was on the 10th of September. It was literally the day before 9/11, September the 11th. Now I'll be honest, I don't know anything about this Charlie Kirk character. I don't think I'd heard of him before. I may have heard of him, but that's about it. I'm not familiar with him. His face looked familiar, but I don't really know what he's about, what he's had to say, and so forth. And I don't think that matters really, because that's not what I'm here to discuss. What I found funny with it was the timing. Like I said, it was literally the day before 9/11. I don't even know the time zones if it was even on 9/11, but it's pretty much the same day as that major event. And what I find strange about that is I haven't seen what happened in this assassination thing. There's a part of me that was intrigued and wanted to watch it, because by all accounts it took place live on TV. I've seen like photos of the shooting and stuff like that, and there's a part of me that's intrigued. So the intrigued part of me wanted to watch it, not because I wanted to see some guy getting shot, but because I know from my experience that there's a lot of weird things that are presented to us that don't tally up. Some things that are just blatantly fake, some things that are blatantly questionable at the very least. So that part of my intrigue wanted to investigate it, to see for myself, because I know there's as always, there's people got opinions of this and that, or it wasn't real, it was real, it was this, it was that, he was shot in the back, he shot in the front, he shot on the left, shot in the right, blah blah blah. So yeah, the only way to have an opinion on that is to see it for yourself. But you know, I went to watch it, and there's part of me just thought, you know what, I don't want to see it. If it was real, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see a man getting shot. It just kind of turned my stomach, the whole thought of it, and I just didn't want to see it. And that's where I draw the parallel to 9/11, September 2001, because a lot of things happened on that day. But I remember seeing that. Obviously I didn't see the whole thing, because I wasn't just watching it for the sake of it, but it was inescapable once it was going on. It was on every TV channel it was on, and some things had happened. But for example, I remember seeing one of the towers coming down. So that was like a live event where you're watching, you're not seeing it graphically, but I remember thinking, so people are dying, you know? I remember people jump out the windows and stuff, and it was horrible. It made me feel sick, and I kind of felt like it was, at the time I felt like it was like watching like a snuff movie, and it was a bit horrible to be televised and all. And then what I found out about that since, and how it definitely wasn't what it was presented as us to be. I feel we was presented a snuff movie. A snuff movie was filmed and broadcast live on TV, and I don't want to see that. And I don't know who wants to see that, and even more, I don't know who wants to present that and why, you know. And I would liken this Charlie Kirk as the same thing. It was a snuff movie ultimately in the end. If he was killed or whether he wasn't killed, whatever. And I would go along the lines he probably was, but like I said, I'm not going to watch it. So it's not a case of ignorance is bliss, it's a case of it's not for me. And I don't think ultimately that is the most relevant point anyway. I think it's a bit like 9/11 where people start arguing about the details. Oh, it was a plane, it was a hologram, it was Bin Laden, it was the CIA, it was Israel, it was Mossad, it was him, it was her, it was them. And ultimately, as interesting as that may be, and we do want to get to the bottom of it, in all reality we probably won't. So if you want to be a detective and investigate that, I think the true understanding of it is not who did it, but who benefits. The same with the scandemic, is like, regardless of whether viruses are real, blah blah blah, all that stuff, you're not gonna know the full story of how it came about, whether it was planted, whether it was completely fabricated, whether it was created, whether it was real. We're not going to get that information, but what you can see through just a little simple bit of investigation is who's benefiting, what the gain is from it. And I think that becomes more important, because any which way the situation gets exploited, and it gets exploited to push agendas and make things happen that wouldn't happen. It accelerates causes and agendas and plans one way or the other. So yeah, the Charlie Kirk thing, don't want to watch it, don't want to see it, don't know anything about the guy, so don't really have an opinion on that. I know he seems to be pitted as a divisive character, and that to me is another thing that I think is possibly most important, because that's where I see the connection there to a lot of other things that are going on, is the division. I think there was something else that I didn't really have much information about, but I think a black guy killed some Ukrainian girl in America. Once again, I just heard this as a hearsay, but that was recent, and that seems to be creating the same sort of reaction of people tearing into like a racial thing. You're on the side of the black guy, you're on the side of the white girl, the man, the woman, the black, the white, and it's just a divide. It seems to be stirring the divide, and this Charlie Kirk thing seems to be stirring the divide. I see it as connected to all this stuff that's going on in England right now, with the flags coming up everywhere, and the immigration protests, and the anti-immigration protests, and people are for, people are against, and you're left and you're right, and you're racist, you're a non-racist, and it all just seems very divisive. And there seems to be a lot of stuff going on at the same time that ultimately has the same effect, cause and effect, you know. So if it's all having the same effect, then ultimately to me it's kind of the same cause. And once again, it doesn't have to be as simple as, you know, also it was staged or it wasn't staged. It doesn't matter, because ultimately, one way or the other, these things have happened, whether it's as we're told or there's more to it. And I'm sure there is more to it, there always is, but I'm sure it's not what we're told, because it never is. But any which way, it feeds into the agenda any which way. So whether this guy's a plant who killed this Charlie Kirk, whether the whole thing's genuine, any which way, it fits the agenda. So even if this guy was natural, because apparently they found him now, and he was exactly what people kind of thought it was going to be, like some, I don't know, some purple haired left wing gay guy or something, I don't know, trans guy or something. Even if that guy was real, he's still been created, so it's still staged, even if it's real, if that makes sense. It's still a manifestation of an agenda that's already been put into place. So it doesn't matter. That's missing the point. I think even with, you know, with this immigration stuff over this side and all the flags, and there's sides to both sides of the argument, you know, it does worry me a bit, all these flags going up, because for one, like, I've driven down certain streets and there's flags everywhere, and I'm kind of thinking, who's doing this? Is it a person? That's kind of a lot of effort. I mean, just buying the flag, you don't just have flags to that level. Like, I've gone down streets where there's like 20, 30 flags on the posts. So somebody's buying 20, 30 flags. I've never tried to buy a flag, so I don't know how much a flag costs, but everything costs nowadays. I doubt it's like £1. So let's say the flag's £10, is 30 times 10, it's like 300 quid just for the flag. And then you've got the effort of getting them up high on these posts. That's like a ladder or something. I don't know how they're doing it. And they're doing it at a point where I'm not seeing them go up, but they're all popping up. So it seems a bit coordinated. And like I said, I get both sides. Like, I see how people sort of perceive it to be sort of racial, because I think there is a thin line between patriotism and racism, and I think they're sort of spawned from a similar mindset. You get there's a fine line between proud of your country and hating against everybody else's. So I get how people are fearful for that, because I see the flag whenever you know, before all this stuff was going off, you drive past the house and see a flag, and whenever I see a flag outside the house, like, hey, who's this guy? You know, it's just what's no, it doesn't. Even if, you know, it's just like a love for the country, I just still think it's a bit of a misdirected passion myself, but that's just my opinion. But at the same time, I see the argument for the people that are going all out and protesting against immigration, because the immigration is an issue. But it's not an issue because it's foreign people coming into your country. So that's where I think they're missing the point. The issue is why it's being done, and once again, that's the cause and effect again. So to me, it seems very clear that the immigration issue is being done on purpose, and the people that are doing it are then posing a solution for the problem they're creating. And that's what worries me about all the flags and the protests, is that people that have fallen into the immigration conversation, unless you are having the conversation about why there's immigration, rather than just all coming over here, stealing our jobs, taking our women, all that simple-minded stuff, because it is just simple-minded stuff. It's an age-old, stupid conversation that's just been going on. You know, come over here, steal our jobs, and blah blah blah. It's come on, man. It's not them. You need to look. You know, once again, they're the effect. You got to look at the cause. Why? You know, even if it's like natural, if it's organic, then it's still created because they're coming over because of what we're doing. That we're, you know, the war and that kind of thing, and the sanctions and the lifestyle that they're trying to escape. So you have to have a bit of empathy there, but at the same time, you have to understand that it's part of a bigger picture, and there's a creation there, and it's by intent. They want to create, you know, the division is obvious. I've said always that we can argue forever about what's going on and what's not going on in this world, and the levels of it, and who, what, where, why, that kind of thing, but I think there's just certain things that are beyond dispute or conversation, and it's divide and conquer. It's just ancient. It's divide and conquer has always been going on, and it's not stopped. It's become more coordinated, more sophisticated. They just change it, you know. There's ones from poor and rich, blacks and whites, and even male and female, and now you've got all this trans stuff and all this kind of stuff, and it's a long conversation, but it's just obvious. It's obvious, divide and conquer. there's, once again, stop looking at the effect, look at the cause. Who benefits? Who benefits from this? Because I think quite often the one group or the other group who think that they're being wronged or think they're being righted, the cause that's pushing it is not for either of them. It's for its own gain from the verses that they create. You know, even other causes that are seemingly of benefit are not beneficial. They're of most benefit to those that are causing the problems. So we need to start seeing things for what they really are on that basis, and start analysing and stop falling for the trap, falling for the bait. I think you are taking the bait. And I also think it's a big distraction. And that distraction is a diversion from what's really going on. So that's why I'm not watching this Charlie Kirk thing. It's not of interest to me. It's interesting, but it's not of interest to me to delve any deeper than just the surface level of what's being presented, because I feel like I've already delved into the beneath the surface of it by an understanding of the divide and conquer. I see the connection to what's going on in the UK that seems completely separate with all this immigration stuff. I think it's the same thing. It's a divide. It's a division with the means to a gain. I think there's a freedom of speech issue that seems to be prevalent to the Charlie Kirk thing, which is also prevalent and relevant to the immigration thing. There is also, like I said in previous videos, it's very obvious with the immigration thing in this country that it's leading to this digital ID. That's the end game of it, and it's obvious because they've come out and said it themselves. So people need to stop arguing about this left versus right and this black versus white and us and them. And I've seen a simple term that I think hits the nail on the head. It's not a left versus right, it's a up versus down, because that's what it really is. It's people in the higher places are trying to maintain their spot by scheming against the people that they perceive to be lower. So they get you fighting left and right. So you're looking left or you're looking right, you're not looking up, you're not looking down. And that's where the problem lies. And that's where I think you get the distraction or the diversion. So everybody's upset for one reason or another. But where people are getting upset, they're channeling their frustration and their anger and their emotion at the wrong place. So the left is upset with the right is upset with the left, but actually the left and the right should both be upset with the up, because that's the reality. So come on people, let's start seeing things for what they are, what they truly are. Stop getting played and let's start playing the game, you know? Let's start uniting, because you know, there's an argument for all these flags coming up over it, like it's a unity thing, and it kind of is. I see that. Like I said, I don't know how it's coordinated and why it's coordinated, but it's going on, and there's a movement there, and that movement has power because people are taking action assuming it is organic. But at the same time, it's not organic, even if it is organic, because you're playing the game that's been set up for you, so you're still getting played. Let's use the expression, not only are you barking up the wrong tree, that tree that you're barking up has been planted there for you to bark at, you know? Let's say you can't see the forest from the trees, and that's the deal. You can't see the forest from the trees, and the trees that you can see have been planted for you, and then you're barking at that tree instead of barking at, you know. So come on, people, it just seems obvious to me. So yeah, what do we do? What do we do? I don't know, but I've got to go, so I might come back to this. I've reached the 20-minute point anyway, so yeah, I will come back to this. So I'll be back.